Konnichiwa. Welcome to the Martial Maze. You're not seeing craziness right now. It is Barakulat Shidoshi, ladies and gentlemen. He is back from hiatus. or it just means we're in the same location.
Yes, that's true indeed.
I'm like, Konnichiwa, brother. Oh, look at that. Hey, we're united and it feels so good. All right.
Yes,
joining us today is that we have Sifu Dan. Say, hey, brother, what's going on, man?
Hey, Us, how y'all doing? Us.
All right,
Martial Maze podcast.
I really said that fast and stuff because it almost sounded like I said seafood, but it's seafood.
Yep,
seafood, yeah.
Dan, and he's joining us and we're gonna kind of recap a little bit about the last episode where it was BJJ. If you're a fan of the show, I kind of was talking about how BJJ stopped selling that false sense of security. And you know what? I thought I was going to take a lot of heat, but I didn't. There were a lot of folk that were like, yo, I agree. And there were some folks, obviously, you get those ironclad folk who were just kind of like, nah, bro, you don't understand. Fights and the way fighting happens. And I'm like,
they go to the ground all the time and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I know you reached out to Barakulat Shidoshi about this when you originally heard the episode. And you were like, "Yo, I got some bars. I got some bars."
Yeah.
So
I got some things. I don't know with me because I'm currently now training now as well. Obtained a blue belt last year, April, and it's a different process. Honestly, it's not too comfortable. Obviously, you don't want to be fighting from your back, but from the concepts, from what I grasp, I know is dominant position. So it's really more the mount and side mounts and taking the back of the opponent. A lot of people that come in and say, "Oh, you're gonna fight from the back." That's not smart, especially coming from the urban terrain. You're not gonna try to do all that, extra stuff. But the subject control movements and holds is okay. There's certain things that you can utilize from the BJJ system, but not everything. You know what I'm saying? Don't make it be like this the one-stop shop, like Walmart or Target to get everything, and it's not.
Well, I mean that's what I was saying. I mean, the truth to it is, and so you're in corrections, correct?
Yes.
Yes, but you're not just corrections. You're when there's like a riot and stuff, you're one of those guys. So
yes, I'm part of the emergency response team as well. So any disturbances in the jail goes on, the bell rings, and we respond.
Yeah. So again, I mean, and I always say this: the culture of Brazilian jiu-jitsu and most grappling arts, it kind of fits, right? Because you're still trying to take a suspect in alive, right? You're not trying to beat them half to death. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, even though they're in jail, they still got rights, right?
Yeah, depending on the situation, because there's a lot of times like we'll respond to the code and say if there's a weapon involved. So then now we got to take measures to a different level, level up the force, whether it, injuring the shoulder, breaking something, just to make sure we retain that, sharp edge weapon and make sure nobody else get, hurt. Depending on that, there's riots and hostages, going on as well. So.
Yeah, and you're doing this, so you're not armed, right? I mean, you have like a thing like a baton or something like that, but are you going in armed like with guns or just
Oh yeah, so in the jail now we don't carry the firearms. Only outside trips, like when we're transporting inmates to different prisons or court. But inside we have PR-24s, the impact weapons. We have the batons, the ASP baton, ASP batons, and we'll have the OC spray. And those are the things that we could use because obviously you go in there and you have a firearm and the inmate get the best of you, then now he's in the prison with the firearm.
Not good.
Not good.
And I know I kind of veined a little ignorance deliberately because there are a lot of folks that don't really understand that in corrections, you guys have to be able to get it done without lethal weapons. And that's why I said that some of the grappling arts do fit.
Yes.
For just that reason. And I think that's really cool. I think and there are other people that feel the same way. We always say that if law enforcement trained in corrections first, like if everybody went to corrections first and then became law enforcement in the street, it would be a different level of, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But so I can definitely see where an art like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can have that bits and pieces, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that taken from them.
Yeah, they definitely do. Not to cut you off, they actually changed the curriculum. A couple of years ago, it was a standard curriculum with techniques level. What is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But they found out under pressure, those stuff wasn't doing well in the prison. So they actually revamped the whole DT curriculum, and it was telling you guys before, it was more BJJ based, subject controlled, but it was pressure tested. So some of the techniques and moves, the takedowns, pinning the hips to the ground, pinning the legs to the ground and stuff, so we could restrain the inmate. That's something that they incorporated. So, like I said, once they incorporated that, I had to go through the DT curriculum again, right? And then I relearned everything as well. And then, like I said, I wanted to take interest in it to see like all right, what is the concepts and the principles behind this art?
Okay.
Because
Yeah, also to add into that, things change when you have your equipment on. All right, what did you gain? What insight did you gain from that? Because that's very important.
Oh man. With the equipment, I mean, obviously you just have to act. You definitely have to be in shape mentally and physically. And there's a lot of things you have to adapt and adjust during that situation. Most times the equipment may fall, so like, have a team where it's like, all right, PR 24 out. The other guy scoop it up, pick it up, but the inmate can still be fighting and kicking. There's most times where we use the OC spray, right? The pepper spray on them and stuff, and they still actively fighting because we have a lot of EDPs in the prison, the emotionally disturbed people. So the way they take pain and just the way this act up is totally different. So I would say some of the control holds do help. Like the arm locks, the arm holds, leg locks, whatever the case may be. And as long as we get them in restraints and then we put them in the recovery position, everything pretty much just kind of goes by the numbers.
So when you are drilling these scenarios, you're
Hmm.
working in units and not
Yes.
solo. Even though I've
Yeah.
seen correctional officers get caught off guard solo,
Hmm.
uh,
Yes.
but usually you're in units, and that's very important, working as a team together to be able to restrain an individual.
Well, I mean that was the overall issue is when even in corrections or even in law enforcement, yeah, great, you got that blue belt, great, you got your black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but when you're getting jumped by more than one attacker, it that's a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
don't bode well.
Yeah, it does. It typically doesn't. I mean, like there are certain things that you may try to do to keep yourself safe. Keep the distance, put the feet on the legs on. I mean, foot on the hip. To kind of get that dip. But you're when you're in was it a 12 by 12 or 9 by 9 space in a cell? Uh,
It changes. It depends on what part of the prison. It could be a 12 by 12. It could be a 9 by 9. We have different parts of the prison that we have different like type of cells. We have like dorm rooms
mm,
type style, and then we have like a real small confined areas for like the problematic inmates, or something like that. So it all depends. But it is a small space to work. So most times, like our team is made up of 6 guys. Not all 6 could fit in there. So the first 3 or 4 guys will go in there and do what they have to do, and maintain control and do what they have to do in there. Not all the time, you guys are going around though in the prison, and we have a team.
mm,
There's other officers that are working solo as well. So these things they have to keep in mind. Like when they're coming through the academy and we're talking to the recruits, we're like, listen, it's a mindset that if you're gonna go in, you're gonna go in. The intent is for you to get back home to your family, and you're gonna have to hold it down until we get there. And normally it takes a 30 to like maybe a minute, depending on where you are in the prison, so we can respond.
yeah, yeah. That's yeah. So it changed. Like I'm like, man, I'd probably be studying 52 blocks like Wu.
Yeah,
Like
I
yeah.
mean, we learned how to fight in tight spaces living in New York City.
Yes,
So
I
you
agree.
know, I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, some of your background too is also your Wang Chung as well, right? And
Hmm.
that's in
Yes.
close.
yep.
And so how does that affect into what you do? Because I know it's in close, but I feel like all of that stuff, and I've only met a handful of Wang Chung practitioners, Tony
Hmm.
Watts being one of them, who
Hmm.
when he was touching me, I felt it to the bone, like
Yeah.
it wasn't just he was blocking my hands, he was hurting me.
Yes.
Like,
As you should.
I
The
didn't want to
internal
put my
energy,
hands up.
like with Wing Chun is great because like it is a kung fu style martial art, southern martial arts style, and if trained properly from the right practitioner or teacher, you'll learn the qigong style, the internal energy, and this dispersing that energy into the other opponent while they're attacking you. And it's a quick, robust movement. We protect our center while attacking theirs.
Mhm.
And then, obviously there's the drills we do with the sensitivity hand drills. So it's kind of like I would say jujitsu and aikido in a sense, because now we're with Chi style, we're just looking at the movements and feeling the pressure. And with that, it dictates if we're going to take the person down or strike them or control them. So with Wing Chun, I feel very content with that. The speed, actually, too, the speed and the reaction timing is amazing. So that helped me during my first couple of years. And obviously, when they started implementing cameras, there's certain things now we have to justify. Not to say we can't, punch above the clavicle, but it's got to be a justifiable reason for that. So obviously, if the inmate is saying, "Yo, I'm gonna come through, punch you in your face," you got to describe that. The inmate's coming towards me, clenched fist, threatening me, saying, "I'm gonna punch you in your face," and by all means, and everybody's discretion or reactionary gap is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
that's I think off air when we spoke yesterday. I think I was alluding to that. That was some of the main reason they started bringing in things like Brazilian jiu-jitsu and stuff because of the cameras and things like that. So they wanted to make sure that all officers were trained because I did say it off camera and I said I'm going to say it today.
yeah.
They figured the time it takes to get to a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because of the amount of time you spend in the dojo training. It's almost an everyday thing. It's not just once or twice a week. You're typically there every day. And the culture in which that will cultivate is that you will be I'm gonna use the wrong word. I want to say learn it, or so you'll have enough time in practice where it becomes more reactionary than throwing up a strike.
Right.
You'll be more likely to grapple and stuff like that.
You're more proactive versus
Yeah,
being reactive.
well, also with your program, like again, like I always say that even myself for a tournament, what I was doing 6 months ago is how I'm going to perform at this tournament. Not I worked on a couple of weeks ago. It's whatever I was doing 6 months ago and stuff like that. So if you have somebody by the time they make it to blue belt, they've been doing this for years at this like on average, like about at least 3 to 4 years, right? They've been doing this, right? So now that's all they've been doing. So instead, where they would have thrown hands, they would have thrown those punches. They're now more inept to I'm going to grapple.
Right.
I'm going to close the distance, grappling.
Second nature.
So now I got less officers out of work. Remember, because I think it's the same thing in the prison system as it is for regular law enforcement. You have to come back at 100%, or you can't come back at all. And stuff. So I don't want officers getting hurt, right? You don't want correction officers getting hurt. And then it makes it really hard for an inmate to say, well, he beat me up. You know what I'm saying? They were kicking me, and you get a civilian who on a board who looks and he sees the punches, the strikes. And okay, yeah, they were beating him up. But no, we were controlling him. Boom. You see where I had him in the arm bar, I had to put him down, and they were controlling him. He was out of line. He was doing, so it changes the perception, everything.
You got that right. Is because and then that's the that's the reason for the new way of the grappling. We go in, like you said, close the gap, try to control a wrist or a hand or shoulder or some type of body part to make sure that you control them so they're not striking. And then all now you're left to do is take the person down, mobilize them, and then try to restrain them. And like you said, these people that's on the board now that is reviewing these videos, some of them probably never ever been in a fight. So it's like they can't even really everybody can money more than the quarterback, but if you've never been in that situation, you can't tell. It's like, oh, why was a punch thrown? Because it was needed. Maybe the person was larger than me. The officer subject factors we talk about here, the person was highly skilled in martial art. Like say if Floyd Mayweather got locked up and came to the prison, we have to be on high alert because we know he's good with his hands. So that's different type of approach. We have to now lock in and make sure that we're aware of. And we may never know. And like you said, when it's time to look at the video, oh, it's excessive force. Really, what was it? Did we use the same level of force that they did to restrain them and ultimately get them under control?
All right. So now we're gonna change gears. So now we've talked about why or where it fits, right? And the thing of law enforcement or any in private security, or if you're a bouncer in a nightclub, whatever, that's where it fits. Brazilian in judo and jitsu, any grappling art, right? That's where it fits. Now let's get into where it don't fit. All right, and this is where that's what inspired me to do the video. It's I will tell you 100%. If you have nothing, something's better than nothing. But the false sense of security is when I watch, especially with women's self-protection, self-defense, they go through all this stuff, right? And again, they're never addressing striking at this
Right.
point. They're never like every one of the classes I've seen, this, that, and the third, or they'll do something and almost as if the person stops, right? He throws the one punch, then they boom, they body lock onto him, and he never tries to pull away, and he
It's
never,
very,
and and he's trying to tuck. Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
very cliche.
yeah, and it's very cliche. And then of course I always have to think in my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, but I'm a trained fighter. Like if you can pull me, you're trying to keep my body down. I'm normally gonna throw elbows into your, and really mess with your head and face,
Hmm.
and like I'm doing all this extra stuff. But even then, I'm still thinking sport, right? So I'm doing the. Somebody forgot to silence their phone. But but in real in times where I've really been in some shit, no man, but think my thumb is in an eye.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Survival mode.
I'm pulling at the mouth. I'm got your nose. I'm doing a bunch of other things, right? And that's never really addressed. And then again, yeah.
We
So
hope it is, because I know there's a lot of things, like, not to cut you, a lot of people like to not show too many things on camera, but we will hope that they would consider that. That's why I try to teach that. Like, listen, you may have, you may go into a situation where a person, they're gonna know what they're doing, right? Everybody knows how to fight or, handle themselves these days. So it's like you gotta be, somebody, you grab somebody, be prepared, you might get elbowed in the knee, just like you said, Izzy.
but you're hitting the nail on the head, though.
Konnichiwa. I'm Israel Lopez Sensei of the Martial Maze. Right now, you might be asking yourself, what is the Martial Maze? Well, I'm here to tell you. The Martial Maze is a martial arts podcast that deals with the complexities and pitfalls that one encounters when navigating the field of study that is martial arts. These discussions are from the points of view of actual martial artists, and we cover it all, with the occasional special guest, who of course are masters in their fields of study. From the president of the United States Judo Association to karate and kung fu royalty. Myself and Barakulat Shidoshi have over 40 plus years of martial experience. So please join us as we make our way through the martial maze. New episodes drop weekly, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
But when I say you're hitting the nail on the head now, is there are more people now that know how to fight in some
Yeah.
way, you know what I'm saying, can throw their hands in some kind of way where I don't want to leave that to caution.
Yeah.
So, one thing that has to be approached is that a predator is a predator. All right. And they've been doing this for a very long time. All right. And they're good at what they do. All right. They don't care what the hell you know. I'm just going to show you something. Let's see how well you can handle. Matter of fact, even if you do know something, I know you know something, that's even more exciting because I want to see if you can take what I can deliver or dish out. Some people get turned on by these things. All right. I mean, come on. We grew up in the streets. All right. People become seasoned in what they do. I don't care if it's in the hood. I don't care if you're in a trailer park. All right. Violence is violence all around. And anyone who does it and does it well is good. You're going to have some issues and you need to know how to deal with those issues. My issue is people teaching defensive tactics or self-defense with no actual experience in applying. Okay. But they can teach the course, they can teach the curriculum, but they don't know all the inner workings of what happens in the movement. What if his hand, you're teaching me an arm bar from here, my arm is straight. If you can catch it at that time, but I pulled in, what's the next transition? You're transitioning to your positions. And if you don't know what comes next or how to navigate that, your so-called self-defense magic trick failed you. And
Yeah.
you get boop bopped.
Well, that's
And
Go ahead, Dan.
But
Go ahead.
Oh, no, and I think that's one of the reasons why too as well the defensive tactics curriculum changed as well, because they found out that happened, and it's coming from people like you said that really haven't experienced a real fight. I had a conversation with one of my good brothers in martial arts as well. It's like there's teachers that could teach but can't fight, and there's fighters that can't teach.
Mhm.
But it's rare to find both of them, and that's a good teacher right there, you know.
Mhm.
So it's just like at the end of the day, it's like where you going, what it's like. I think you brought that point up, Barack, about where you living at. a lot of people not going to go to an urban martial arts school if you're from the other side. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
they
no,
want to
that's true,
stay.
yeah.
But then now, if you get into a situation, you can't blame, you know, the school per
Right.
se. It's like you decided to go there instead of the school that would have probably taught you the right way.
Well, you
Right.
know, well,
Can I say something real
yeah,
quick?
go
Hold
ahead,
that
go
thought.
ahead,
Hold
go
that
ahead,
thought.
go ahead.
This is what I'm talking about. We do this all the time. When it comes to education, you travel for your education. I don't care. Listen, when it's time to go to college and your college is in California, you're going to fly out to California. You're going to live there and get a top-notch education. All right. And the problem is that people go to certain schools for convenience because it's down the street from me, versus going over here and getting a lesson from here, a real good combative school, but you're afraid because where it's situated. And also, too, that becomes a part of your training, too, all right? Because you need to understand, how do you understand self-protection if you don't use it?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's good that it's in that area because this is going to keep my head on a swivel. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to piggyback off that, and it's one of the things that's one of the things that inspired why we do the show, why we started doing modern combatives, why the people that we have on modern combatives are the people that we have on modern combatives, and not other people. You know, I get it all the time. Well, what about this guy? What about that guy? And I'm like, look, man, we give roses to folks that need to get their roses now, their praise now, because but these are some of the baddest dudes out there on the planet, right? And they're doing a thing, but they're not getting that praise. They're not getting that look because people want to go in the neighborhood. But I will tell you, this is why I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying. Look, people will fly all over the country to train with Jimmy Pedro for judo, right? I train with Ray Marquez. You know, I'm rocking the Veterans USA. You know, and but again, people travel. People will travel. They will come to our show when they're in town. They come to our dojo. They come to the tournaments. They do, and the tournament's growing, which is awesome, by the way. I'm not trying to plug it right now, but you know,
Plug
but it again, Gabriel Gonzaga opens up a place. I got folks traveling all over. Gracie's open up a place. Folks traveling from all over the country go train with the Gracies, right? It'd be nice to have that belt from the Gracies. And why are you going to the Gracies? You ask why? Well, because they're the original, and whatever you want to say, right? Why am I training with Jimmy Pedro? Why am I going to spend the money to go to Pedro's? Well, because Olympics, they've been there 5 million times. You know what I'm saying? Why would I train with Ray and all those dudes? Well, Ray, veterans. Yo, dude getting it done. You know what I'm saying? With the best of the best of the best. I call them the NFL, right? With NFL for judo and stuff like that. So you'll travel. One of the things I learned from Roddy Ferguson is that people, if they're worth it, you will travel to the people that are worth it. Now, I want to learn how to defend myself for real against a real threat, violence, force on force, all that other good stuff. Well, shit, man. Why aren't you at Temple Nemesis?
If you want to play basketball, you go to the hood. You want to be good in your ball skills, you go to the hood. All right.
You definitely got to play there, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to get good at lacrosse, you go to Canada.
Yeah. You know, it all makes sense. You know, it all makes sense. But also it's twofold. One point that you brought out was good. Another point is that some folks don't do enough research in what they want to learn. All right. So they don't know who you are. They didn't vet you. They didn't look you up. All right. So they have no kind of, how should I say, a starting point, where to go.
So, yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And just to your point, a lot of times things have to happen for them to come to me. Like a lot of the clients that I do have, it's like, oh yeah, you know, he was getting bullied, or yo, one of my friends was coming out of the supermarket and somebody grabbed her arm, took a pocketbook. So I just, you know, I was wondering if I was in that predicament, what would I do? So I seen you and da-da-da. And that's how most times something gonna have to happen. And hopefully you survive it. So, you know, if it happens next time, you know what to do. But that's what we get in regards to just getting these clients in.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's circling back, and that's why I said the false sense of security. I think a lot of times it's comfort, and you want to be trained by people who look like you. You know, and so a lot of times women will train with other women because it's women. But I'm like, but who are you more likely to be assaulted by? You know, what brought you to the door in the first place? You're like, well, a man, and I get where some people will argue, well, the information's the same, and I'm like, if we're talking about the use of a tool, yes, the information is the same, but perception is everything, right?
Yeah.
When people see me, even when I'm working out with somebody smaller than me, if you utilize the right structure on an Ogoshi, we'll just use Ogoshi, right? Basic hip row. you should still be able to throw my 234-pound ass. You know what I'm saying? You're 110 pounds.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm not fighting against it, or even in a moment in time, boom, the structure's right, and you throw me. Perfect, it works, right? But the perception, because I'm such a big guy, right? Now you're not thinking that. You're more likely cower. Or even when I'm doing it, just demonstrating it with somebody, they using a lot of strength to try to move me, and I'm already light on my toes anyway. I said, look, man, you can take the finger, do this, and I'm flipping in the air, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not as good as Moses Powell on that one, but I'm up there. You know what I'm saying with the finger thing. Yeah. So with that being said, but it's the perception.
It's the
Yeah,
sizes are
definitely
determined.
is.
Yeah. So, and again, so they want to be comfortable. So now they're training with a woman to fight me. You know what I'm saying? Like that. No, that's not going to work out for you. You know what I'm saying? Or you're learning an art that's more likely than not going to have you making bad decisions. Case in point, and that's why I said a false sense of security. Look,
Yes.
in the real world, if I have to grapple, I will. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, and it's good to have in your pocket, right? It's good to understand how to fight on your back, because that's when you panic when you're on your back. It's good to have those things there in the toolbox. But ideally, any grappler will tell you, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, top position is the best position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dominant.
I want to always be on top, or get a back take and stuff like that. Whether it be for points or just to put your ass to sleep. I'm like, that's just a good position to be in. I don't want to be other places. However, I don't want to need to panic if I end up in those bad places. But talking about in the real world, I want to be preventive. I don't even want to be in that. I shouldn't have to engage in the grapple. A lot of things have gone wrong if I'm grappling with somebody. You know what I'm saying? And not by choice. Like there has been times working security, law enforcement, things like of that nature, where I was in a position where, I needed to go. But again, the prefix is, I had to take a suspect in safely. Even working at the nightclub, I don't want to be held liable. There's cameras all over the place. I can still be sued or jailed. You know what I'm saying? Working private security, we're bonded for a ton of money, but they don't really want you putting your hands on people. Not like that. Even if the client is like, hey, y'all rough him up, we ain't roughing anybody. Sir, that's not the service that we provide.
Well, I think to avoid all of that, first and foremost, and that's why we always talk about self-protection first before self-defense. And it's crucial. Each one of us who teaches a defensive tactic program have our own way of sharing our self-protection tools. Okay. And so what I explain is self-protection is not having to use self-defense. Okay. And so if you follow, self-protection is multi-layered. All right. And so once you understand these layers, if one wall falls, here's the next step. Another wall falls, here's the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Okay. Now, I have an acronym that works well with my students, and it's called ADDER. And this is how their self-protection is governed. All right. First thing is when you step out there, your head is on a swivel. A means to be aware and to learn to avoid. All right. So keep your head on a swivel. Never stay in code white. Code white is completely oblivious. Okay. 2, deterrence. How you carry yourself, how you walk with confidence, self-esteem, all these things, making eye contact with individuals. People want easy targets. All right. No one wants anything they have to work for. So if you act like you're on your A game on the block, people are going to notice that. So either they're going to come with more heads to deal with you, and if your self-protection is right, you'll notice it and get the hell out of there. Okay. So learning how to deter. If that layer fails and your deterrence doesn't work, then you need to know the second D is diffuse. How well is your verbal judo? All right. And diffusing a situation. Okay. If that layer fails, then it's learning how to evade. All right. How well do you know how to evade? Do you know your block? Do you know your area? Do you know the alleys, the little cuts and nooks and crannies, all these little things, but also using obstacles to throw in front of people so that way it creates barriers so you can get out of there. And then if that fails, then it goes to the last part, and that's R. That is your respond. All right. Now you're at code red. That's an imminent threat. All the layers failed. You're at code red. Now you have to respond. Now, when you're responding, I tell my students, right, I can teach you techniques all day. Right? Techniques, everyone got techniques. Some techniques better than other techniques. What is important is principles. All right. If you have principles in play, all right, that will suffice. All right. Because in the streets, everything is improv. All right.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the principle and you're trying to do a technique, you're going to get boop bop. You're going to get handled.
Yeah.
Addressing situations, man. You just gotta be able to address situations.
Yeah.
And you use your tools to
Yeah.
address the situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, I agree with the foundational principles that they have here is mobility and protection first. Then there's the situation of you create or maintain angles if you have to get engaged, right? You engage or disengage, and then you transition to something else, whether you're running away or you're transitioning to a knife or a weapon. So with those concepts, like those are interchangeable as well. So you could it could go from 1 to 4 or 1 to 3, and that's the real life. I mean,
Yeah.
Barai, you hit it on the head, man. That's a dope acronym. That's dope.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate
It's dope.
that. It's all about the knowledge first, and that's
Yeah.
it. You can't begin to do anything else if you don't have the knowledge.
All right, so on to the next topic. And you and I talked about it a little bit. So there was a reel, and there's a box right now that's kind of showing that reel between Barack and myself. And in this box, it was basically it's this. It looks like the store manager but I don't know. I don't have anything that told me why. And I tried to look in the comments to see why that was happening and stuff like that. I think this was courtesy of DOS, the Deadly Art of Survival magazine. They have their thing. And yes, by the way, I am gonna plug that. Still the #1 martial arts magazine
Yes,
in the
Deadly Art of
United
Survival.
States, if not the
Yes,
world.
New York representative.
Yeah, yes, you are. Yes, you are, DOS representative. We got you on here too. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna plug that because I think it's awesome. But so I think the video is courtesy of them, and in the video, it's like, what would you do? And we're watching this, and I was watching it, and I'm going, she's grabbing this dude by the dreads, and and he wasn't throwing anything at her. It almost seemed like she was trying to get him out the store, but then she started just trying to beat on him, and it escalates to him being on the ground. And then he starts to try to defend himself. And then at this point, everybody kind of starts rushing on him. You're seeing it right now, right? And I was just so, we're going to let that box drop. Okay, box is gone. And, look, I don't care. I will say this to anybody, and I know people get mad at me. If I'm martial arts, they say, well, I would never hit a woman and stuff like that. Look, if it was a small man with the same weight and dimensions, and it was a dude, would you hit that dude? Now, everybody I know says, well, yeah, I would lay him. I said, so what difference would it make? That's that misogyny. And it's and that activates me personally. I don't believe in that kind of misogyny. Violence is violence. It was one of the things, I got from law enforcement. Look, when you respond to a domestic, you know what I'm saying? If in your mind it's the woman or the weaker and stuff like that, you're going to miss that gun. You're going to miss that knife she's holding in her hand. You're going to miss those things and end up dead. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So, no, if you grab me, if you put in your hand, I think I've said this to you once when we were in California. I said, look, if you put your hands on me, and at the time I was over 250 pounds, I'm going to remind you, I'm 250 pounds of pure you up. You know what I'm saying? I ain't playing, But again, because I ain't putting my hands on you. I'll say, I talked about this all the time. No person has any right or rhyme or reason to put their hands on another person without consent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if you do decide to enter that space with me, you know what I'm saying? Now we've gone to violent negotiation. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to probably win that argument.
To your point, Izzy, like there was another video too as well. There was a situation, I guess it was a female on the other end recording a guy saying, oh, would you hit a woman? Would you hit a woman? And then he's like, is she a threat? Is she a threat? And then he's like, yeah, listen, because if you're out on the streets or you're, serving the army and they said, you'll neutralize the threat. They don't say neutralize the woman or neutralize the man. It's a threat. So I was like, it's a good point. Like if the person's a threat, if she's a threat and, your life is in danger, whatever the case may be, then listen, neutralize the threat.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's real simple. But.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go.
Listen. Now, just going according to the law, because this is very important to understand this, because you'll end up in court And even if you were defending yourself, it can flip. That coin can flip against you.
I
So
agree.
the thing is this. One, it's an absolute threat, code red. Okay? Now, there's a thing called reasonable force, necessary force, and deadly force. All right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there's threat level let's say escalations.
Yeah,
Okay?
there is.
So therefore, if I feel that yes, that person assaulted me and I
Mm-hmm.
neutralize that threat, all right, however, whatever means, as long as it's no longer a threat, then that's
Mm-hmm.
good. You neutralized it,
Yes.
okay? Now, for instance, this is the reason why when I watch folks teach or do self-defense demos and things like that, and you're
Yeah.
doing this overkill type thing, I'm like, no, that will end you up in jail, okay?
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
listen, the thing is, if the person is no longer active or moving, stop. Don't go any further. All right.
This is what they teach us. Yeah, this is what they
Yes.
teach us as
Oh
well.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no.
Don't go
Yes.
any further. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But now also too in the court of law, we're gonna spread it all out. All right. And the jury is gonna look at everything. Okay. And the thing is that was it considered reasonable what you
Mm-hmm.
did to that person? And if it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't reasonable, you're going down.
Well,
Yeah.
so my counter to that is, and I have to,
It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight.
No, but that's the point.
Yeah.
So my counter to that is look, there's a famous saying, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Right.
Yes.
In the end of the day, all I need is one juror that doesn't like black people. Period. And no matter
Yeah.
what I said, no matter what, I mean, I know people are going to somebody's going to say, well, why do you bring race into it? Hey, man, because it's really on the table right now. I don't know if you living in Earth too, but it's on the table right now. So with that being said, all I need is that one person. Well, case in point, even my home, right? So in South Carolina, if you enter someone's home, because it's a constitutional carry state, castle doctrine 100% applies. However, and I've been told this by more than one person in law enforcement down there, if my assailant happens to be white, I will be arrested. I will have to get a lawyer, and I will have to go through all the things that
All the
because it's a
parameters.
white person. Look, and that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But I still have a choice to make. Do I allow us to be assaulted in our home, possibly killed, or do I need to do what I need to do? So
what you need to do.
So I'd say be cognitive.
Cognitive.
Of what's going to happen. Be aware of the consequences. That's a better way of saying it, of your actions if you get into any kind of scuffle, right? And stuff like that. But I'm still 100% for. I'm going to look if this woman's assaulting me. You know what I'm saying? Again, what's reasonable force? That all depends on the person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What I perceive
depends,
to be
yes, it
reasonable.
does.
Case in point, an officer shoots somebody, center mass. Look, again, stopping air quotations, the perceived threat. I'm shooting center mass, and it's really to stop the threat. Like as a cop, I'm not trying to murder someone, or at least I shouldn't be, right? And stuff like that. And when they go to court, look, he was aggressing towards me. I gave commands, boom, and I had to discharge my weapon, right? For whatever reason. And plenty of officers walked on that.
Right.
Again, I was being assaulted. I'm giving commands. Let me go. I'm saying all these things. And then, bam, I fire. I go hella, right? And stuff like that. So, I mean, again, it's one on how you articulate or the witnesses say what happened in the situation, a video and stuff like that. But you still run into the very same problem if you get arrested, because you probably, no matter what, you may still be arrested, especially if it's an officer's presence. And now I don't even know if that works with video cameras, because they can now look at the footage now and say, well, we saw you doing the assault, but technically it's supposed to be a criminal summons.
Well, see, the thing is this, and this is one thing that I teach my students. There are times if you feel that when you take someone down and they are incapacitated, okay, the thing is that you're supposed to, just for your own personal safety, dial 911. Have an officer come on the scene, okay? Because this is going to be a report, all right? And they're going to have your report. So if that person tries to flip, no, he attacked me or whatever. No. We have the report. We have everything there. Now, if you have to run, get out of there, evade, then dial 911. We got to get this scum off the street, all right? But to run off the scene and not do anything allows that person to still victimize individuals, even though you came home and you're like, wow, what a night. But the point is you didn't do anything. So you always want to protect yourself in the court. I mean, period. So that way the officers have your side of the story versus it coming from the other side, so you're protected. They're like, hey, he called or she called the police.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna help your case. Yeah, you're thinking of your case.
All right,
Yeah.
because when we talk about minimum force, yo, listen, that's impossible in the midst with adrenaline and all that stuff happening.
We already have precedent that shows that no, you again, what the guy that killed the dude on the subway.
Yeah. Oh,
with
the
chokehold.
and stuff like
that. He found not guilty.
I thought you were talking about the recent one on the train with the woman from Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That was horrible.
So that was horrible,
man.
and I think
That
they
was
should do
horrible.
something about it. My issue was the only thing I'm going to say about that, and again, it goes back to the race thing. If it had been a black woman, would we been hearing all this outrage?
Yeah.
No, maybe in the black community.
Breonna Taylor
Well, no,
or whatever. It would have been big news.
But yeah, no. But that's the point. How many officers were charged with Breonna Taylor? And did they ever really do anything about it? And look at how much outrage had to happen before they even tried to do anything about it. This is a horrible, horrific event. Should have never happened.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
But the race card 100% is being played here.
Yes, it
is. And I said, make no mistake. That's why, again, when you have the president talking about it, right? We already know what he's about. You know what I'm saying? What he's spouting about, right? In case in point, where even when they're talking about the violence in all these cities and towns and needing the National Guard to come in and stuff like that. Again, we've been living in these communities for all this time, and the only thing that ever happens, and I hope it'll change, but I'm not going to hold my breath, either we're over-policed, right, which means innocent people get caught all up in it, right, or under-policed. Because I can tell you there were plenty of times where even Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, after 12 o'clock, cops weren't coming, period. They just weren't coming, and so the south side of Chicago, it's no different until they when they're starting to gentrify it, then all of a sudden things, for whatever reason, gets better. Even though the same people are there and they're getting moved out and whatever the hell, but for whatever reason, this happens this way. And then we hear the same old thing over and over again. Well, it's this community, this, that, and the third. We need to, again, all I'm going to say when we talk about that level of violence is I'm all for the root causes. Let's fix some of the root causes, right? And I'm not going to get on my bully pulpit or pull out my soapbox so much on this, but I'm just going to say that last event that took place, as horrible as it was, would we all be hearing about it if the roles were reversed? If it was a black woman and it was black on black crime,
I think
probably wouldn't hear it as quick as we did. It'll probably take a while because there's a lot of things that we hear that happened 2 weeks ago, a couple of months ago,
Exactly.
if that.
I think it would have went viral before it would have hit the news. There are many things now. We live in an age where there's crime all over the place. It goes on social media. And then the news sucks it up because we live in an age we get news before the news gets it.
Well, because we also live in an age where people are starting to see in real time that shit just ain't fair.
Right.
I mean, that's the reality to it, and it's really hard. It's like the civil rights movement back in the day.
Right.
It took the peaceful protests and the cops coming in with the spray and hitting all the people before, and the regular people watching it on TV going, well, wait a minute, these people are armed, they ain't doing nothing, and the cops, they're just protesting. Oh, wait, this isn't right. So when we look at the things like Breonna Taylor,
George Floyd,
so
that was a live killing right there on live.
But the point I'm making is even if it wasn't for that video, nothing would have happened. In fact, the other brother that was lynched by the two dudes, I'm like the people that were in charge to investigate the crime and bring up the charges. It took the federal government to intervene to make them, and even then they didn't want to do their job. You understand what I'm saying? We just have to keep in mind that it took the video going viral amongst the community. This is during COVID, right? When we saw all these people getting killed and stuff like that. It took all of that stuff to make the government, law enforcement, do their job.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But we know what's happening right now. Right now, there's that division, that race cards being played, no matter how way you want to look at it, and playing to our very worst impulses as a society, right? We're all looking to victimize and blame someone. All right, so I'm going to give you the last word, brother. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
Oh man, I believe self-defense is something I think everybody should study. It goes to your point, Izzy, before about not a lot of people join these arts to go all the way with it. So like try to become a sensei or a sifu, right? So everybody's passion level and dedication level is going to be different. So I really feel like it's up to us to really, put out more workshops and survival workshops, I guess, because not everybody gonna join class, man, and stay consistent as we were and go through the ranks and go through the treacherous training and mentally to do what they got to do to at least have something in their toolbox. So if they faced with a situation on the streets, they know how to properly handle it. Right. I'm teaching my young kids, obviously I'm teaching my wife, my family, and stuff like that. And every so often I have something at my church, we have like a little self-defense class just to refresh people on things because things happen every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, to your point, I mean, not everybody gonna, like you say, go to the art of survival school versus going to the school that's up the street from you. But it just it now is up to the people that live within that, community. I guess there's people that live in certain communities that they think they don't need that
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
type of style of fighting or techniques, whatever. And then, like you said, some people go on YouTube University and now they're just the top fighter in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the truth to it. All right, brother. Well, we definitely want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you for your time.
Yes,
Yo, man, for
thank
our
you
audience
guys.
and things, because we always get hit up, and sometimes I'm not really good about it. Even with the production notes, sometimes I'll leave out
Mhm.
information like where does somebody find you? I mean, you have a
Yeah.
school, right? I mean, you're still doing a thing.
Yeah, yes, that's doing my thing. Lithium Tiger Martial Arts up in Rockland County, New York. Right now, we, just like anybody else, we're training out of a park now as well.
Uh-huh.
So just in
Good.
case we're going to train rain, sleet, snow,
That's
whatever the
good.
case may be. And doing privates now as well, and teaching that. And I'm doing fitness too, because as well as getting that, the mind right and spiritually and stuff like that, you need to get the body right as well. So that's important too. A guy could probably be very skilled, but get winded out quick, and then now all those skills don't work.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Well,
Yeah.
all right, man. So we definitely want to thank you for being on the show. And
Thank
yes,
you for
again,
having
it
me.
wasn't a figment of your imagination. I'm with my partner in crime, Barack
And
Chidoshi,
I'm with my partner here, Israel Lopez Sensei,
and you've been listening to
the Martial Maze.